And music, action. My guest is Teddy Adams, and this is his group on the East Coast. Teddy Adams is the trombone player. He sounds good too. Yeah. Whew. Great background, huh? Want to check out this band's history. The music's so good, isn't it? So let's just look at his history while we're waiting for Jenny. Trombonist, arranger, composer, and lecturer. It was introduced to him by Cynthia Utterback, who lives in Savannah now. And check this out. He had all these bands when he was 56 to 60. Born in 41. He's in his late 70s. 41. So he was young when he was doing that, and came up promising. Went to the U.S. Air Force, Air Force bands. Played with Bobby Timmons, Wilbur Ware, and played in and Bangkok. He met let's see. Oh, and he met Dow Watanabe, Reed Mitchell, Art Lincoln, Abby Lincoln. You know, not too bad. Wow, Cap Calloway, James Moody, Clark Terry, Steve Bryson, Ernie Andrews. I know he's really busy, and you know he's busy in Savannah too. Here we are back at his flow. Turn this up a little. Yeah.
Hey,
That's what I say. I say, yeah.
how
Hi,
are
Teddy.
you?
I'm really good. How are you?
Well, no complaints. For an old man, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Yeah, well, it's first of all, it's really nice to meet you. And
Same here.
Cynthia said so many nice things about you that I was like, I want to interview him.
I appreciate you deciding to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I read, of course, I read your bio when I posted it, and uh, it's really great. We have so much to talk about. I'm thinking, we have a few hellos from some friends of mine who come on pretty regularly. John, hi John, and Yuko, and Dave Links, and Roland, and Mark, and Robin, who said awesome. Nothing like a little. Curtis Fuller wrote that, right?
Yes, Alamode.
That's one of those songs that anytime you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, Curtis Fuller was one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to start right off by asking you a question out of left field. I heard you know Henry Franklin.
I know him through other friends, not personally. I played with Doug Carn. As a matter of fact, I still play with him now and then. And
Oh,
George
wow.
Hopper.
Oh,
He's from Savannah. And Frank Gordon. All of those guys were on the Black Jazz label. So I know about Henry Franklin because of them, and also, of course, Cynthia, great bass player. And I've heard quite a few things by him.
yeah, yeah. He's an excellent person.
Yes.
Yeah, he was one of the first guys I met when I came to LA when I was 21, and he had a an all night hang, and he was just so kind and supportive, and it was a safe place to go,
I
which
got you.
was nice.
I got you.
Yeah,
Everybody speaks very highly of him. Everybody that I've ever talked to.
yeah, yeah. Well, maybe I can introduce you guys.
Hey, I'm sure we know a lot of the same people. We have a lot in common in that respect.
Yeah. So you're actually from Savannah as well, right?
That's right. Hmm.
So what I mean, I saw that you started having bands together when you were probably like in your late teens or something, mid-teens, something like
No,
that.
14 was my first professional job.
Okay.
I was in the ninth grade, so I was fortunate enough. All of my band directors throughout uh, elementary school and high school were jazz players.
Oh,
So, so I was exposed quite early. And when I got to junior high, they had no confidence in me because of my interests to start exposing me to some actual gigs. So I was 14 years old. Yeah.
I see. And was trombone, was that your first instrument?
That is my first instrument really was saxophone. My brother was a saxophonist. But
Hmm. Okay.
when it was time for me to purchase one, I bought a trombone because for some reason I thought it might be easier. And I couldn't have been more wrong.
I know, man. The trombone, man.
Yeah.
Once somebody told me how the trombone actually played, I was like, "What? That's crazy. It's an insane instrument,
Yeah,
man."
I didn't think it through. I didn't think it through.
But maybe at that age it didn't really matter because,
Yeah.
anything would have been hard, right? Even a sax.
Oh yeah, because I was a part of Savannah's first school band program for African Americans.
Oh,
Therefore, the guy that started me and all of my peers out started from scratch. He might have had, out of all the black schools that was completely segregated in Savannah, he might have had 10 students that had taken piano. And I might be
wow.
overcounting. And then other than that, he got a bunch of beginners who knew nothing about reading music, knew nothing about the instrument. He started he started from an embryonic stage. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. What was his name?
His name is Benjamin Brown. I completed a book called The Up of the Downbeat, and that book is dedicated to him because he is responsible for quite a few guys from Savannah who became professional musicians.
Wow, that's really special. I don't know if I'm just getting more aware of things like that or if it's the pandemic but I just keep hearing and being moved by people who did things like that. They really, I, I can't imagine how it must have been at that time and how he must have looked at it and thought about it and decided to do what he did.
I did a dedication up front with a large picture of him, and
Mm.
I expressed, paraphrasing what you just said, in my own words. I mean, here's a guy that started from scratch as far as students. We didn't even know how to hold instruments. you know, that's starting from the bottom. You know, and he had to, and like I said, the only prior experience were a few kids who had picked up drums and they were just beating on the drums. They weren't playing or reading music, and a few
Yeah.
students who had prior piano lessons. But other than that, we started from how to hold instrument to produce a sound, and a whole note gets 4 beats.
That's really amazing, isn't it? I'd like to print up in the Facebook area the name of that book. What's the name of your book?
The Up of the Downbeat.
The Up of the Downbeat. I love that.
Yeah, and I have a sequel coming. I'm working on now called Keeping the Beat.
The Up of the Downbeat. I love that. That's so cool. So, regarding the name of that, just curious. So, did that um, did that relate to something you were talking about specifically in the book?
No, no, I thought that that title was applicable and very appropriate for
Yeah,
this art form commonly referred to as jazz, because the up jazz is predicated as much on syncopation as anything else.
yeah,
So I thought about the syncopation in jazz, and I thought about the unexpected events in life,
yeah.
and they are. I think syncopation is simplistically defined as irregular accents, unexpected. Okay. So the up of the downbeat, that encompasses the things unexpected in life and also the syncopation in jazz. So that's how I arrived at that title.
Teddy, I'm so with you. In fact, I'm going to show you what I did. I, where is it? Somewhere in this mess. Oh, here we go. So I just out, well, a few months ago, I came out with this little tiny book. It's like, very small.
Okay.
The Act of Becoming. And so what this book is, it's a philosophy book uh, about how one lesson, like in one area of your life, uh, is the same lesson in other areas. For me, singing, voice technique, singing jazz, and life. Those areas I feel like I know about. But what you just said, that would be like something that would be in this book. It's so obvious. I feel so blessed that I have music to teach me about life. In
Oh yeah.
exactly what you just
Oh
said.
yeah.
That's
Oh
so
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Improvisation is based on life. It's based on life experiences and emotions. I mean, of course, you have to combine that with the theory of music to play it correctly. But
Right.
the Thelonious Monk said something that I will never forget, and I read it as a very, very young man. He says, "You show me a musician without an imagination, and I'll show you a guy who needs another job." So that it's improvisation is based on life.
Yeah.
A bad day or a good day, a happy moment, all that is expressed when you were expressing yourself. That's why when people ask me what jazz is, I never give a specific definition. When I'm teaching, I bulletize. I let them tell me what they think it is, and I bulletize it on the board. Then we discuss each bullet, and I say, you'll see that you all are saying the same thing. You're just expressing it differently, you know. Uh, and that works real well for me, because jazz is I can't think of another music art form you could compare to jazz if it's played correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really it's really beautiful. Um, yeah, I trying to help a dear friend of mine who is not at all really into jazz. Beautiful person. I think they're spiritual, but they don't think of themselves as that. They don't. I think they're an artist. They don't think of themselves as that. And I keep trying to tell them that improvisation is exactly what you said. It's life. You wake up, you thought it was going to be raining, and it's sunny. I mean, there's just it's everything happens, and when things don't go your way or screw up somehow, it's not that's always going to happen forever.
That's right.
It's how you handle it, right?
Yeah. You talk to most musicians, and they'll tell you some of the best ideas that they've ever come up with was a result of making a mistake of doing something wrong, or they thought was wrong at the time.
Yeah.
And then, that's one thing about improvising. The art of improvisation is infinite, just like jazz is infinite. You only got 12 notes in Western music, so every note is related. There's no wrong note. You just got to know what to do with them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. I heard somebody say that, or I read it, that space was the last note, which I loved. It's like, yeah, I wish they taught us that from the beginning.
Well, I'll tell you something similar to that. If you talk to
Yeah.
the guys about Count Basie,
Hmm.
say it's not what he played, it's what he didn't play. he, he was the master. He was the master of space. Yeah.
Yeah. I was telling somebody yesterday about when I heard Shirley Horn. I was in my living room and I heard her doing In the Dark. And
Uh,
then, so it was like this. In the dark, in the dark, right? And I was all alone in my living room and I started blushing. I couldn't help think what was going on in the dark. It was great. I mean, I always use that example because it's perfect.
I got you.
You
And
know.
Shirley Horn was the master of singing ballads extremely slowly.
Oh yeah.
She, she would force. You would want to rush it, but that wasn't her style.
Yeah, I can imagine how many people would start sweating. It was like, oh my God, I can't take this. I have a joke here from my friend who's a drummer. He said, trombonists make the best friends and spouses because they let a lot of things slide.
Wow, that's
See,
pretty good.
he's pretty funny.
It is.
So, so I see how you started. Did you, did you fall in love with the music early, or did it take a little while to fall in love with the music?
Well, first, my father was a self-taught harmonica and Jews harp player.
Hmm.
He was musically inclined, but he just picked it up because he was interested. My brother was potentially he could have become a pretty good musician. And I became interested in music because of him. He joined the Air Force and got on flying status and put the music aside. He stayed in the Air Force for almost 30 years, and he was flying and seeing the world all that time. So he stopped playing. But he's 4 years older than I am. And prior to him going in the Air Force, I would hear him practice. So when I decided to start playing, I had already been more or less acclimated to jazz and improvisational licks. And when I learned the horn well enough and thought I wanted to play jazz, I had memorized some of the licks I heard him play. He practiced all the time. So
Hmm.
those things were already ingrained. And when I started playing the horn, I just tried to emulate what I'd heard him play. So that
Hmm.
was my beginning as far as learning to play something other than what I was being taught notation wise.
Hmm.
It already been subconsciously planted there because my brother played.
That's cool.
Mhm.
That's what happens, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, did you have idol like inspiration from other trombonists? Is that what you followed, or did you follow other
Oh
instruments?
no, no. You nobody's original. No, so, you might not know where they got it from, but nobody's original. We haven't found the original improviser yet. Uh, musicians will tell you, you once you start playing and become interested in improvising, you start listening to other people, especially those who are recording, and you find one or several that you like. You study their concept and you steal their licks and ideas, and then you take those licks and ideas with a few permutations, and then you make yourself believe that it's yours because you're not playing note for note what you heard. you know. So I started listening first at a guy by the name of Benny Green. A lot of people don't even remember him. Very fine trombone player out of Chicago. He was my first influence because he was the first guy I heard that I thought that I could steal and emulate. He played very well, but he had a pretty straight ahead approach to improvising.
Yeah.
So I started listening at him, and then I don't know whether that was good or bad because I still sound a little like him. But then someone told me one day, "There's nothing wrong with Benny Green, but you need to listen to J.J. Johnson, young blood." so so then JJ, and I said, "Well, I don't have to hear anybody else." And then in the late '50s, I heard Curtis Fuller, and I refused to deal with Curtis Fuller for a long time because JJ was my man. He and Benny Green, but Curtis Fuller stole my heart. He wasn't a consistent player, but when he was on, he was frightening.
Huh.
He was a bad man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Curtis Fuller.
I don't know if I heard much trombone, or it wasn't in my mind until I came out to LA. I'm from Boston originally. And
Really? Okay.
yeah, my dad was a sax player, so I grew up really listening a lot to jazz and music. But um, the first, I got a job at the jazz club out here, Dante's, which was, had all the guys at that time. That was in the mid 70s or late 70s. And the guy who I just was enamored with was Frank Rossellino.
Hey, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something now. Frank Rosolino and Carl Fontana
Yeah,
are two of the best trombone players I've ever heard, and that includes the ones that are prevalent today.
yeah.
They were true pioneers. Both of them came through the Kenton band, but they both were great trombone players, and they had uniquely different styles.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear Carl Fontana live or at either at all or very little. But Frank Rossellino used to play at Dante's a lot, and
Right,
he,
right.
he was so melodic and beautiful. Wow, he just played really beautifully. Did you
He
ever hear
also,
him sing?
yeah. I heard Carl Fontana in person several times. Never caught Frank live, but Frank Rosolino, technically speaking, and he was he was hard to beat.
Yeah,
He was hard to beat as an all around trombone player.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He had a very funny singing thing, you know. There's a record with him singing and playing. he sounds like it's kind of comical singing, you know. I mean, he's good, of course, but he's kind of comical and he swings his ass off and
Well, we know that is the modus operandi or the style for musicians who sing. You got a few exceptions, but basically the musicians who sing are having fun. They know that they can't sing for real, but they enjoy doing it. Like before Moody died, Moody was doing Moody's Mood for Love himself, and several other vocal songs. Uh, a lot of my personal friends, my mentors, they
Uh-huh.
would sing because they like singing. They couldn't, but they sang well enough to sell it and make it work.
Yeah, I have a friend who's probably around I don't know. He's in his 60s or something. Bob Mcchesney. He's a wonderful trombone player. I don't know if you would know him, but
What's his name?
Bob Mcchesney.
Okay, no, I
He's
don't.
really good, and he's written some great books that are apparently very popular. He's he's very he's technically wonderful, but also he has these beautiful ideas, just really wonderful. I'll have to send you some stuff by him.
Do that. Do that. I'm always interested in anything that I haven't heard, but especially if it's by a trombone player.
Yeah, right. And yeah, I'm writing myself a note. My friend Andrew is asking if you knew of Dennis Wilson and Charlie Hughes from Count Basie.
Who are they?
I don't. Let's see. Well, Charlie Hughes, I guess, was a Basie trombonist, and
Right. I know the name. I didn't know him personally.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so moving on through Teddy Adams' life. You're very philosophical. I can tell that already.
Well, I was around, for someone my age, I
Yeah,
was always in the presence of much older people. The guys that kind of pointed me in the right direction. Most of them were old enough to be my father.
yeah.
Some of them were older. So I guess I've had an old person's spirit and philosophy for quite some time because I was exposed to that early on in life. You know,
That's cool. I think.
so do I.
I can really relate to that. I remember when I started going to Japan. I've been there a lot, and but when I started going, the Japanese people would like look at me and they'd say, "You remind me of a Japanese grandmother." And I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting." So I don't know. Maybe I was a Japanese grandmother before. I don't know. Have you
You
traveled
so you've been to Japan several times, huh?
Yeah, and well, yeah, maybe I don't know, 40 times, something like I've
Oh, that's enough.
yeah,
That's
it's
enough. That's enough to know something about it.
yeah, over many years. Yeah, I traveled throughout and had little spots that I would return to a lot. I have a lot of students there and I worked with one American pianist for years there and we recorded together. But I know you have an extensive background in Japan too.
Yeah, yeah. I was there between Bangkok and Tokyo. I was over there for like almost 11 years,
It's a lot of time, man.
and it was almost 10 without ever setting foot on American soil. Yeah,
You speak Japanese too? A little bit?
functional Japanese. Speak
Yeah.
more Thai than Japanese because my wife is from Bangkok.
Oh, wait, Motai. What is Motai? Oh, I'm
I speak
sorry. You said
more Thai than
Thai.
Japanese. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, as soon as I said that, I went click, click, click. Okay. Sorry. Motai. That would be a good name for a song. Motai. So your wife is Thai.
Yes,
I see. I've never been to Bangkok. Um, I went to
it's
Japan.
worth the effort to go.
Yeah.
It's worth. I probably would have decided to live there had the music scene been better when I was there.
Oh,
As of right now, it's much better. They got an annual jazz festival. They have a music conservatory there. When I was living there, the Filipinos, who were probably the best emulators that ever lived, they had a monopoly on Thailand and the countries in that area, and somewhat of a monopoly in Japan, but the Japanese took care of that.
Yeah.
Filipinos emulate very, very, very well.
Yeah.
And so I relied on them to play jazz. I couldn't rely on the Thais at that time. And I had a chance to get back to Tokyo. I was still in the military. So after 3 years in Bangkok, I came back to Tokyo, and then I got out of the military and just stayed over there for about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I saw some interesting development. Let's see. I started going over, I think in the late 80s. And I saw some really interesting changes in the jazz musicians. At first when I at first when I would go over, the bass players were the most unique and good players of the rhythm section. Pianists emulated really well,
Right.
but they weren't unique. They were copying. And then the drummers were driving me crazy. They would play something great for 4 bars and then change through the
Yeah.
whole song. Oh, here's something really great. Okay, now here's something really great. And here's something really great. Oh my God. But then over the years, that I saw that change. The young people started, being attracted more to kind of, more of the modern jazz, I guess, like Paul Motion and, people like that. And it was interesting. I found that really interesting.
You know, and I still to an extent now, I mean, and everybody's guilty of it,
Yeah.
but you find Japanese players, especially uh, a while back, who could emulate anybody's style. So that's what you were up against. You could you could be playing a song, and in the middle of the song, they would decide, okay, I think I'll do a little Elvin here. you know,
Exactly.
and they'll start playing Elvin, just because they could. Yeah. So that's what I I got almost the entire time I was over there. I played with the same piano player.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
yeah. He was his name was Takahiro Honda. He was the brother-in-law of Sadao Watanabe. He was
Oh,
married to Sadao's sister, who was a vocalist also.
oh.
And Sadao's brother is a drummer, and he believed himself to be Elvin Jones at times. so so what I was dealing with was a lot of Japanese musicians who were really emulating guys they had heard, but they were doing a pretty good job of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, that's good. I'm very fond of Japan, you know.
So am I. It's a
Yeah,
different kind of tradition and culture over there.
it
I,
really
I
is.
never, I never thought I would experience anything like that.
Yeah,
And I found out that when it comes to appreciating jazz, it doesn't get any better than Japan.
yeah,
People over there really have an affinity for and an appreciation of.
yeah. They get it, and
Yeah,
I've often thought about that because, it's like the garden in the back, right? So you have this much space for the garden, not a lot. And then
right,
within that garden, then you can create a universe, you know?
right.
And that kind of attention throughout the Japanese culture over many, many years, I think is really good for jazz too, right? Because jazz, you have the song, you have the structure, and within the structure, you
Right.
can be free and creative. Because you're right, it's like the Japanese people, they get it. They
Yeah,
listen, they
they do.
get what's going on. It's really
I
quite,
used I used to carry my tape recorder around on a lot of sets that I played.
oh, yeah,
And invariably I'd come back and we'd be listening to some of the things I had taped.
yeah.
And the guys would be saying, those people are pretty quiet, man, while you guys are playing. I said, you hear the noise before they cut the lights. When they dim the lights on the audience and put the lights on the bandstand, there's silence. If you hear any commotion or anybody talking, you know it's a gaijin. And the Japanese are guys, is a foreigner.
Yeah, right.
It's not going to be a Japanese. They come to listen
Yeah,
and to
yeah,
appreciate, and that's what they do.
yeah. It's really lovely. Um, yeah, in fact, I'll send you a copy. I'm just getting ready to release a recording. I found a really nice DAT tape of my pianist and I a live duo in '92. That it was just really good. It was good musically and it was fun. It showed our humor and it showed their humor and it was just terrific. So I cleaned it up a little and going to release it because a live duo too is just I think I think live duos are pretty amazing for the most part. When it's good.
They're pretty intimate, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and when you can kind of turn on a dime and stuff. But yeah, and yeah, I miss Japan. I really want to go back, but this pandemic is just, I can't imagine me or the students wanting to get into a tiny room for a lesson. And that's a good part of the my income when I go there is teaching.
Uh,
So I'm going to wait a little bit more, but I really do miss it. It's just the people are so lovely, and especially the artist community.
well, they have. I was very comfortable there because there were Japanese musicians that played better than I did, but the Japanese people said he's authentic. I mean, see, he's playing the real thing. That's the way a lot of club owners thought about it. So sometimes I would be paid more money playing with the guys that played better than I did. Yeah. But being there kept me on my toes because Japanese people are very serious musicians. Once they decide upon doing something, they got the discipline to shame you if you don't stay on your toes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they got a work or practice ethic that is unequaled. And being over there as long as I was, I saw growth. I saw growth in the piano player that I played with. He was 21 years old when I met him, and 11 years later, he was one of Japan's best piano players. He died a few years ago, but
oh,
his son is a drummer,
oh,
and he's been playing with Sadao Watanabe. But when I was in Japan, the people appreciated the music, and Japan brought everybody in jazz over there.
yeah,
Yeah, everybody that was somebody in jazz, whether it was avant-garde, no matter what it was, they brought them there. So I got a chance to see and play with a lot of people perhaps I would not have seen or played with had I been in the States.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yep. It's pretty amazing. I met a few people over there too. Um, I met Blakey's daughter over there actually.
He has 3 children over there, maybe more than that. I know about 3.
Well, this was Evelyn Blakey, so she's
Oh, you mean his American daughter?
yeah, yeah. I met her over there. She was singing.
Okay, well, he has about 3 Japanese kids over there.
Oh, okay,
He's
okay.
been married twice, but none of his wives have ever lived in the States.
Oh, I see.
Boo went over all of the time.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah,
all the time.
yeah. um, when we heard the a la mode, what was that great band?
That's my sextet.
Oh,
Uh,
that's boy, great.
the jazz messengers kind of spoil me, and it's hard to for sextet to actually work. If people can get a trio, a duo, or maybe a quartet, that's what a club owner is going to settle for, especially if it's a strong group. But I have the good fortune of booking for Savannah's premier jazz club, so I can put my sextet in, pretty often.
Yeah, that's
So
really
that's what I use now. I use the sextet, and sometimes I vary,
uh,
but my whole thing in the club is keeping the music alive and creating some work for the musicians. I know a lot of guys, And almost everybody that I know has been to that club and will be coming back. We worked that out pretty well.
Well, I think we should hear more, but yeah, these guys, uh, Kirkley, wonderful. Well, everybody's great. Um, yeah, the trio, the rhythm section, great. Anyway, oh, this is definitely not yours, Teddy Adams. You look like you're a white, 12-year-old here.
I don't know
Probably
who
not
that just popped up. I'm saying, how do I get rid of that?
yours. Well, his name is Teddy Adams, so I don't think you can get rid of it. By the way, you have a nice website. I liked your website. Should I listen to one of these, like On a Misty Night, which is a song I love?
Old Night is pretty good. Yeah.
He loves that. love that song, and that was great. Sounded wonderful.
Yeah, that's what Tad Dameron's one of my favorite composers. He wrote a lot of good songs.
Really did. Beautiful songs. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an unsung hero, and he was very particular about who he recorded those songs with.
Oh,
If you go back over his track record,
yeah.
when he recorded, he used Fats Navarro, he used Clifford Brown, he used John Coltrane, and a few other very outstanding players. He just didn't choose anybody to play his composition.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I had just I had a gig the other night that was with an amazing band. It was a trio, and I felt like a rock star, man, because I couldn't do anything wrong. Basically, they were so great. But when I gave them my original material, um, I was so blown out with what they were doing with it that it really. And I've thought about this before, but it happens when it happens. But I really would like to sock away a little money and hire those guys to actually play, record my material on a
Gotcha.
record,
I got you.
and but now that you say that, it does make a difference, right? Who plays it? I mean, there's a lot of wonderful players who will play, but sometimes it really knocks your socks off, right?
That is one of the beautiful aspects of composing when you hear your music played by guys who can play.
Yeah.
And that is, I can't think of anything more rewarding. That's equally as rewarding as being satisfied perhaps with the solo that you have taken. And that doesn't happen very often with me. But now and then I say that wasn't bad, Teddy. And to hear my music, and I do a lot of writing. I've
Oh,
composed quite a few songs,
yeah.
and uh, and that's one of the reasons for maintaining the sextet. I play other people's music, but if you come to one of my gigs, I play as much original music as I do of music composed by others.
Yeah. Do you also, Mark is actually asking this, do you play other band members' music as well?
Right. It's open to any, I'm open for everybody in the band can write and arrange.
Oh,
So
cool.
they know that all they got to do is bring something in. If whether they want to do it, whether they want to arrange it, they want it arranged, it doesn't make any difference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Then
cool.
and that particular clip there, that was celebrating my birthday weekend, last birthday weekend. And uh the piano player on there was Jason Marcellus's piano player. And
Oh,
the bass player, Delbert Felix, he was in Branford Marcellus's first band with Kenny Kirkland and Jeff Tane Watts, and he's
really?
played with every member of the Marsalis family.
Wow.
And the guy on trumpet is one of my prize mentees. He's in New York now, teaching and playing. But
He cracked me up when he started playing. It was like you could tell he just opened the door to heaven. He was like, "Oh." It was great. But the pianist took an incredible solo.
let me know. His
Bass
name
player
is
was
Louis
still there.
Hurlbut, and he's
Yeah.
he's out of Atlanta. Was one of I mean, when guys come this way from other places, if they don't have a piano player, he's one of the first sought piano players. Plays very,
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah. Yeah, and also the first band that we listened to, the bass player really knocked me, and the pianist, and the
Oh
drummer.
yeah.
The trio
Now
was incredible.
those guys are the regular members of my sextet. The saxophone player. Now he's an interesting person. He was
Uh-huh.
in school with one of my mentees, and he went to Oberlin,
Oh.
and he was a double major. So
Oh.
he was majored in jazz performance and pre-med. so
Oh.
so when he finished Oberlin, his his medical degree is from Harvard,
Oh my God.
and he plays very well, very
You,
well.
you see a lot of that, like crossovers with doctors and and jazz musicians especially, don't you?
When I met Eddie Henderson, I was living in D.C., and Eddie
Uh-huh.
Henderson had just enrolled at Howard in the medical program.
Uh,
Yeah, and that he didn't practice very long after he got his degree.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. Also, I have I have a friend who also is a let's see, what's that term? Space, a space. Uh, shoot, God, I can't think. But you know, spaceships going off into space. He
I
works in that
got,
field,
I
and
got
he's
you.
a great tenor player. He's one of the favorites that in this whole area. Chuck Manning, space
Okay,
technology. I don't know. I can't remember the name of the title of what he does, but he
got you.
works in. That's his day job, man.
Hey, you got a lot
And
of
his
guys
twin
like that.
brother.
You know, like
Yeah.
Richard Davis was
Yeah.
a
Oh.
doctor of psychology. You
Ah,
know.
that I can understand a lot. Astrophysicist, maybe that's what he's called. I'm not sure, Joyce. Um, so was Japan and Thailand after that? Did you come back? Well, that you were also in the Air Force band.
Right. See, what
Uh,
I got to Japan in the Air Force, and I wanted to stay in Japan,
yeah.
and I went over there reluctantly because I was in Washington D.C. when I went to Japan, and I didn't want to go
Uh,
to Japan. I didn't know anything about it.
and DC probably was a really cool hang at that time.
And D.C. was heaven for me.
Yeah.
Bobby Timmons was still alive. Wilbur Ware was still alive. Bernard Sweetney, Nathan Page, all those guys were still living there. Jimmy Hops, Billy Hart, all those guys were still in DC when I was there.
Yeah.
So DC was a very good scene. And when I got the Japan assignment, I really didn't want it, but I didn't have a choice. I made the mistake of volunteering to go abroad with a preference for Europe because I'd heard so many great things about jazz and Europe, not knowing because this is my first, I was new to the military, that if you volunteered to go abroad, if what you wanted was available, you would go there. But if not, they would send you anywhere because you said, I want to leave America. so, so trying to get to Europe, I got Japan. And after I got there and found out what was happening, the war was still going on. So I volunteered to go to Bangkok because that was in the same theater and you could get your assignment of choice for being there. So I left Tokyo, went to Bangkok, and came back to Tokyo, same place I was before going to Bangkok. And then I got out there because I was under contract with the Sony Corporation, with the Japanese group I was playing with.
Oh.
And I stayed there until my second kid was born. And I didn't have the umbrella of the Air Force. And at that time, Tokyo was the most expensive city in the world. So I had to get out of Dodge. I
Yeah.
I came back home. I had some contractual things I had to finish. So I sent my wife and kids home, and I joined them about a year and a half later. And I've been here since. I met Ben Tucker while I was living in Tokyo, and that was in 1967. Not knowing that I would run up on him again, and not even fathoming that he would be moving to Savannah and living here.
Wow. Gee, that must have been hard for your wife. Uh, uh, she was Thai, right? And so,
Right, but
like
but
parents and
she came home
kids.
with my mother and father, so
Oh, okay. Okay.
she was good.
Yeah, yeah.
She couldn't have been in better hands.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Dan. Dan posted my friend. He works for JPL. Yeah,
Okay,
and he's really a beautiful tenor player. Just
okay.
beautiful. Chuck Manning. Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Um, yeah, so okay, so wow, so you came back home and it's great. It was great talking to Cynthia Utterback because I knew her here when we were both younger and and the way she spoke of Savannah and what she had been looking for. My husband and I always talk about the things that she said she had been looking for if
Right,
we
I
ever
got
decided to move from LA. you know. And she said, yeah, and it was right here in Savannah. So
Well,
Savannah sounds beautiful.
if, if you if you about to retire, you've gotten out of the mainstream of things.
Yeah,
Savannah, Charleston, South Carolina, pretty hard cities to beat.
yeah,
They're small southern towns, but there is a scene in both places. Charleston is a sister city to Savannah, and
yeah.
the environment, the ambience is quite similar. I lived in Charleston for about 3 years, and for years I went to Charleston. I played in Charleston almost as much as I played in Savannah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
Charleston has something to offer. They have some pretty good musicians there. They got two uh, schools there with jazz programs. So a lot of people, when they come this way, they start to explore cities and try to decide where they might want to settle. It's always between Charleston and Savannah if you're looking for something kind of quaint, kind
yeah,
of laid back, but still has some kind of tolerable scene, you know?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, she said, it has the arts and community and, something happening
Yeah.
that you could be interested in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she had been here for a while before I found out that she was here.
Yeah, she
Uh,
told me the story. It was a
And
fun.
a mutual friend that we have brought a CD to him and said, "Don't you listen to this?" Saying, "I don't know, but she sounds all right to me. You listen to that and tell me what you think." And I listened to it. And I said, "She sounds all right to me." So the rest is history. I got her on at the club where I book, and we do every Sunday night together. And
Yeah.
whenever she wants a weekend, all she has to do is let me know, and she can come in. Basically, she can do what she wants to do. But up until the pandemic hit, she had been going to Bangkok for 4 to 6 months out of every year. You know,
Yeah.
for the last 2 years, wasn't able to do that. So I've been using her in the club a little more. And
That's
she's
cool.
becoming established in Savannah. People are finding out who she is and the fact that she can sing. You know,
She's a really good singer.
Savannah
Really.
has 2 or 3 real good singers.
Oh, really?
So yeah, she's in good company. Uh, Savannah, Savannah has maybe 3 or 4 pretty good singers. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Cool.
But
Well, I gotta.
but if I had my druthers, I would. She is probably the only jazz singer here. We got some singers that sing jazz and do a pretty good job of it, but I look at Cynthia as being a jazz singer, and there's a difference between a good singer who sings jazz and a jazz singer who sings jazz.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Um, it seemed like in your bio you played for some people too. Like, did you play for Abby Lincoln and
Right. And see that goes back to Tokyo. Abraham Lincoln came to Tokyo and stayed for some months. So we did some concerts together. And I go down to the
uh,
club where she was playing and sit in. I got a chance
oh,
to play with Art Blakey because he came over all of the time. And this one time he came over, Woody Shaw was supposed to come with him. But Woody Shaw had been busted for drugs some other time, some other place, and the Japanese wouldn't let him in the country. So he was over and looking for a Japanese player. He did that very often because they think that Art Blakey is a god in Japan. So
I
he
can
he
believe
would
it.
if he was short a person, he would replace whoever he's supposed to bring with a Japanese artist, and that would be most appealing to the Japanese. And this young lady that I knew said, if you want to do that, that's okay. But I know a trombone player that you can use, and I'll take you to hear it. And she brought him to my gig. And he came out and listened. And you in the army? I said, I'm in the Air Force, but I'm in the military. So at that time, he had Mickey Bass, he had Cedar Walton, and Carter Jefferson with him. And I got
Wow.
a chance to tour about 2 weeks with him there. And Sadal Watanabe, Blue Mitchell came over for a while. Guys started to come over while I was there and stay for a while. Not as long as they would stay in Europe, but they would stay for months at a time and then go back.
Yeah. 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 I have a question. I'll ask you this because I could answer, but why not? Why not you? Mark would like to know what the difference between a singer who sings jazz and a jazz singer who sings jazz is.
Uh, okay, let me see. That's a pretty good question.
Yeah.
There are some certain nuances and things that are brought to the table uh, by a jazz singer because she's in tune, or they're in tune to instrumentalists and an instrumental approach to singing. And even when they improv, and I'm not talking about scat singing, when they improvise or embellish melodies, it's more in tune to the way instrumentalists play. Whereas a good singer who does not, who's not a jazz singer, just can sing, and if she can sing or he can sing different genres of music, they can do it, but the essence of what they're supposed to be doing is not there, in my opinion. Now, this is me talking, that's the way I look at it. And I'm satisfied with that opinion.
I am too. I think that was well described, over the years, being a teacher too. And I remember I told one student that she was singing really well, but she wasn't, and she was singing jazz tunes, but she wasn't
But hey,
singing it in a jazz
know about
style.
that. Yeah,
She was actually super disappointed in that opinion, and I couldn't. I mean, I'm the kind of teacher that's kind but honest. I'm not going to
you have
bullshit
to
you.
be. You have to be. You
Yeah.
have to.
So, but she's a great singer. Great singer, and she's continued to sing jazz tunes. And but you're right. There's that you put it really well. I think sensitive to instrumental sensibilities, and it is definitely a different point of view.
Of
And
course, but see, because jazz was originally instrumental music.
right,
They've always been singing, but people weren't singing jazz. They were singing
yeah,
different genres of music. And
right,
and when they realized when jazz came about and they realized the relationship of the blues and spirituals and all that to jazz, that started a movement, you know. But
yeah,
they're one of my other favorite singers right here. She's eclectic. She comes out of
uh-huh,
the church. She she can sing anything, and she sings jazz very well. But that thing ain't there, even though she does a very good job of it.
yeah. Yeah, that's what's I find really interesting about this period of time, and probably the last 15 years at least, is that there's all these mixtures of material, of styles coming in.
Yeah.
And I find it fascinating. I think really it's kind of leading, I think it's deeper than we see. I think it really is a reflection of what is happening to humans on the planet. People, of course, I'm a glass half full person,
Mhm.
but having said that and said, okay, it's okay if I have good opinions of life and what's going to happen. But I really do think that people, even regardless of the horrible things that are happening on the planet, I think there's a lot of people on the planet, more than we know because of media and stuff, but a lot of people on the planet like going through a change in perspective and wanting to be, humans on the planet
Right,
instead of, just so separated, And
right, right.
I think the music thing is a reflection of that, you know?
You know, uh, music being regarded as a universal language, music is a thing that brings people together. Like uh, the language doesn't make any difference if
Right,
you're
right.
listening to jazz. You don't have to be able to communicate uh, verbally if you have the same thing in common. Like we
Yeah.
have been doing a jazz festival here in Savannah for over 40 years, and it's been free for over 40 years, and we've brought everybody here. And in over 40 years of having this festival in the largest park we have here, it peaks out on some nights at about 10,000. We've never had an incident,
Wow.
not one incident. And as far as bringing races together, uh, everybody is there, and everybody's there for the music, and everybody has a good time, you know. And that speaks a lot for what music does in general. But me being a jazz musician, I'm going to specify what jazz does, you know.
That's so nice. I love that. Really love that. Makes me kind of weepy, because I just it's just when I look back and I remember who affected me, and the feeling, even if I didn't understand it totally intelligently, like I've told this on this show before. But so my dad, was a sax player, so I grew up listening first and foremost to his music, right?
Right.
And then I must it must have been one of his records, which was um oh my gosh, wait a minute. My brain is shorting out. The name of the group is, with Milt Jackson
Oh,
and
MJQ,
yeah,
Modern
MJ.
Jazz Quartet.
Yeah, he must have had a record because I don't know how I would have gotten this record. Anyway, that was like a group that I just glommed onto. And when I was too young to drive, I guess, my sister took me downtown Boston to Paul's Mall, and MJQ was there, and we were sitting in the front row, and I could just imagine what they looked over at us like, these two little girls, just go like totally digging it. And but I always say this and I still feel it when I remember this. The music was kind of holy. It was it lived in this on this level that was spiritual. It was just beautiful. And then top it off, these guys in suits and respecting each other and the
Yeah,
audience, and this sense of ethics. I didn't know that word at that age, but I knew that feeling, and it
yeah,
was so delicious that I just I couldn't let it go. It was just a gorgeous thing. So it makes me kind of weepy when I think of all this stuff and like what you just said about all all of that. I just think I think it's so valuable and such a beautiful thing that we have the ability to share. And actually, this week I saw this really interesting group. I'm guessing you might not have heard of them. It's called Daka Braka. Have you ever heard
no,
of that group?
no.
So they're Ukrainian, and they're probably in their 30s or 40s, maybe, I'm guessing. There's three women and a guy, and the guy, they all sing. The guy plays accordions. The women, one woman plays cello, one woman plays keyboards and hand drums, and the other woman plays traps. And the women ha- have the most incredible voices. They sing very high, most a lot, and that they have that kind of mid-eastern kind of, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And the songs that they sing are kind of this mix of Ukrainian folk music and maybe some kind of funky beats, and improvisation is in there, and
mhm,
the crowd totally loves it. There were 1,300 people in this theater seeing
okay,
them, and the crowd was absolutely in heaven. And the Daka Braka is very real, very organic, and I mean, it was just great. It was a 2-hour concert, and everybody was
okay,
just really happy. But that's an example of how music is really being mixed and really affects us, and certainly reflects what's going on,
oh yeah,
in the
yeah,
world today.
yeah. I don't know what the world where it would be without music. You know, like
Yeah.
at the club that I work at. The name of the club is Good Times Jazz Bar and Restaurant. And you know, so we boast two things that's essential in life. We boast the best food and the best music you can find anywhere. And the chef there, the chef and consultant, Chef Joe Randall, is one of four chefs that are featured at the Smithsonian in the African American Museum of History and Culture.
Wow.
He is Horatio is the main chef. He was the first African American chef at the White House. They have three others, and Chef Joe Randall, known as
Uh,
the Dean of Southern Cuisine. He does the menu and he sets the standards there at the club, and people
yeah.
fall in love with what he's doing.
Oh my God. Wow. Cool. That's nice. So you doesn't look like you're too fat though.
Oh no, let me tell you, I watch myself. My wife is from Bangkok, Thailand. Thai food is some of the best food you can ever eat in life.
Super
And
healthy, right?
well, not really.
Oh.
They're spicy. They, they're
Oh.
spicy. It's delicious. So some of it is not healthy, but all of it is good. So she was well versed in cooking Thai food, and she was in the kitchen with my mother for 15 years before my mother passed. So my
Ah,
wife is a consummate cook, but
ah.
I have to really watch my diet because she cooks very, very well. And then at the club with the chef being there, I eat what I want when I want. I have to watch
Yeah,
myself there.
yeah, yeah. I can imagine. Hey, my friend posted you playing with Cynthia Utterback. Maybe we can watch a little bit of that.
Okay, I don't know. We I don't know what they got, but we the sound man is always we never know when he's posting and when he isn't.
Oh, oops, there's me and Kenny Washington right there.
Oh, this is a little rock and roll here.
Oh, this is that cool band too.
I used to live in Los Angeles. Bring it down just a little bit. LA, the land of play. I play in LA. And I would go to the jam section. And this was their national anthem. This song. Every time they play this song. They played it so much. A couple of times I just told the waiter, check. I had to get up out of there. But then there weren't any words to it, you know? And for a singer, it's like, hey, I want to be up in there. I want to be hanging to and singing along. No words. But then came Carmen McRae. Oh, thank you, Carmen. And she wrote these words. And I'm going to sing them for you right now. And I better not hear anybody out there say, check, please. You look at me one day, chase my blues away.
Yeah.
I just say,
Yeah. Wow, I wasn't aware that Carmen wrote those lyrics, you know? Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't know that that song was a vocal song before Grover Washington made the hit.
Oh,
That's yeah, it was some soul group recorded it as a vocal. And I only found out after Grover Washington recorded it, Mr. Magic.
yeah. I remember singing it, but I think I sang it in college or something, like in the
Right.
70s.
It was before Grover recorded it. I
Uh-huh.
never even heard it before then.
Ah, wow. And who wrote the music?
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You know, since he was the one that made the hit, he was given the credit for it.
Oh, Mr. Magic song. It's yep, Grover Washington. But
So he wrote it.
let's see. I'm gonna look on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I
I'll just look under Mr. Magic song. Oh, doesn't exist in Wikipedia. All right, fine, fine. Let's see if I can see it. It says, well, doesn't really say on Wikipedia who originally sang. No,
it was a very popular vocal group. They were popular.
Ralph
Like
McDonald or Bob James and Grover Washington. Hmm, I don't know. Oh, Roberta Flack sang it
no, no, I think it might have been before
too. Hmm. Mr. Magic Song composer. Let's see if it comes up with that. Composer.
her. But
Um,
vocal version, they'll tell you who did it.
who? Well, it says who originally sang, but it doesn't actually say anybody else. But anyway, I'm gonna go look for that maybe. Oh, written by. Well, this one says written by Ralph McDonald and William Salter.
Okay.
Uh, I think that is the one because it says cover versions by Grover Washington.
Right.
So Ralph McDonald and William Salter.
Okay. I know Grover didn't write it, but and the name of the group escapes me, but it was a very popular group that recorded it.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Well, now we know a little bit. And okay, so, oh, Dan says Grover Washington Jr. originally recorded Mr. Magic, written by Ralph McDonald and William Salter and Grover Washington Jr. Released it on the album Mr. Magic in 75. It was also covered by Eddie M., Warren Hill, Ralph McDonald, Mike Mann, Tiger Blues, and other artists, even sampled by Amy Winehouse and Coolio. There we go, man. Thanks, Dan. That was a lot of information. So, let's see. What haven't we talked about yet? I'm so casual and improvisational in these
Hey, well,
conversations. I
that's,
just like,
that's the way it ought to be. It ought
yeah,
to
man.
flow naturally. Whatever comes
Yeah.
up, we discuss.
When did you start teaching?
Uh, I started giving private lessons probably in my late 20s.
Oh,
And then when I returned to Savannah
oh, okay.
in 1967, the schools, they had one or two schools here that had pretty strong jazz programs. So I started teaching privately to students. And then I was the band director for Savannah State University for 2 years.
Oh,
And not 67. I returned to Savannah in 1976. I'm sorry about that. 1976.
yeah.
And so, and off and on, I've been doing lecturing, and they had a program at Savannah State called the Elder Hostel Program, where they brought in adult people from all 50 states and Canada, and they were on campus for a week, and various subjects were taught. I taught the history of jazz with a focus on Savannah, and it was a week long, and I did a live concert at the end of that week. I did that for more than 20 years.
Wow.
And then like I said, I was a band director at the school for about 2 years, and now I'm teaching applied lower brass out there. It's my alma mater, and I do some improv classes, but they haven't gotten there yet jazz wise. I'm trying to help them get there. But I teach lower brass because it offers a degree in music education and also a degree in performance.
When you say lower brass, what is that actually referring to?
Okay, lower brass is like trombone, baritones, tubas,
Oh,
sousaphones,
oh,
those instruments.
the lower.
They're mostly bass clef instruments.
I see.
Also, yeah.
Do you cover bass clarinet as well?
No, I cover lower brass. I have a friend that covers trumpet. I mean, I could have been imputed to that, but they have someone doing trumpet, and then another friend of mine is doing woodwinds. So all woodwinds fall under the woodwind section, including the flute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow, that's pretty cool. Is it common for kids to pick up the unusual instruments or the less played instruments or
School, it's a small school, so they have to encourage it. They have all of the instruments there, but I don't see the interest in kids now that I like to see.
mm,
So that's why when I see a student that I think has potential, and more so the interest
yeah.
and the desire, I spend a lot of time with them because a lot of them are there and they will get a degree and they want to learn and apply just enough to get the degree and go out and teach. But when I find a student with a passion, then I spend a lot of time with that person. And I've had two or three in the last 5 years that I've been out there that I felt had something to offer. And I have one now. But you figure I have 10 lower brass students, and I got one now, and I had one last year. That's telling you about where things are. That
Yeah,
I mean, who I think brought something to the table. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's not just about what sound they can make. It's about their perspective, right?
I'm gonna tell you, and you were saying that you were pretty, so you tried to be uh, tactful, but you were pretty serious and outspoken about what you thought. When it comes to a lot of other things, I might not be, but when it comes to music, I'm going to tell you how I feel about it and about you sooner or later. uh, I mean, I can hold off pretty good sometimes, but when I see a student with the ability and that student is not applying themselves, they catch it from me. If I have a student that I don't think have the ability and they are not applying themselves, sooner or later they're going to get that from me. And whether it's good or bad, that's just who I am. Because if you don't want to do it, if you're not serious about it, you shouldn't be doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's my perspective on that.
yeah. That's like that monk statement that you said in the beginning,
Yeah,
right?
about
What was that?
imagination. Yeah,
What was that statement again?
show me a musician without imagination, I'll show you a guy who needs another job.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. I have a young student right now who was not too long ago was introduced to jazz through Tony Bennett, through listening to Tony Bennett.
Okay.
And she's 14 and she has a beautiful voice and now she's starting to learn the subtleties, of what jazz singing is. And I've been, listening to singers with her. There's a young singer who's 22, Samara Joy. Do you know her?
Tamara?
Samara or Samara Joy.
No.
She's 22. She's an old soul. Really, I mean, it's like they plucked her out of, you know, the Ella time or something. She's so mature. It's pretty incredible, and I know she's matured a lot in the last 2 years. But yeah, so turning her on to people like that, who are young, who she can relate to, who are really good, respectful of the music.
Yeah, I volunteered to do some improv classes because they got a jazz band, but they don't have a jazz curriculum. So having a jazz band, I said, you need to have improvisation covered in some way or not, or you're defeating the purpose. But I'm thinking about giving it up because the kids don't understand the profoundness of jazz as an art form. And they think that they can come to the improv classes and just take a little bit and get by. And I can't tolerate that. An improv class is a very serious class. You have to be serious about that. If you're not serious, you will not get it. You will not get it. And I don't like to waste my time. And I really don't like to see kids who are not truly interested in the true art form of the music. I got about two that really try, so I spend a lot of time with them. You know,
Yeah, I hear you. I was,
they're under the impression or the illusion that improvisation is something that you make up, and I say that's only part of it. I say it's innate. It's something that you make up, something that you create, but it has to be combined with the theory of music and play it correctly. That's what you don't understand. And I said, and to do it correctly, the very scales and other harmonies and theory that you're being taught for the degree that you're pursuing, that has to be applied to the improvisation. And they say, wow, we don't want to do that. That's too
too
hard. I'd say
hard.
it's only
Yeah.
hard until you learn how to do it.
Yeah, I can dig it. One time I was I there was a period where I was adjudicating for high schools, right? And like their big concert convention things, which I don't even know how they put in time to do that. But anyway, so what you had to do as the adjudicator, you had to use a little tape recorder and you were watching and listening. And then while the band was performing, you were far away. And so you would talk into the recorder and say suggestions or whatever you said, right?
Uh,
This one group came up, it was a choir, jazz choir, and their improvisation was so horrible that it was so totally obvious that the teacher just didn't teach them anything at all,
gotcha.
and I found myself, and I have a high tolerance level, but my tolerance level had been reached. And once I started talking, I started really like, getting down on the teacher, right? It's like, what the hell are you teaching them? They're not doing anything, Anyway, that was the last time I was the adjudicator for anything. I think I overstepped my boundaries, but oh my God, I couldn't even be logical and, sane talking into
I
this tape
got you.
recorder, because I was so upset by it, it was really disrespectful.
Yeah, that's the one thing that music is the exception, period, with me.
Yeah,
If I think that you could do better, then I'm going to let you know that, and I'm going to pull it out of you if you got it in you. If
yeah,
I think that you can't do any better, I have gone to students and suggested maybe you need to change, think about another major. That's not a good thing to do, but when you see it isn't there, and to an extent, I've seen kids that get enough to get a degree
yeah,
and to think that they're going to be out there teaching. I
yeah,
can't condone that.
yeah, yeah,
Just enough to get by. They see a hard time with me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, my friend has posted your website, which is it says here's your website where you can buy his music.
Yeah.
That's nice. Thank you, Dan. He's a very good researcher. Um, yeah. And you have a really nice website too. I told you that before because I've seen a lot of websites. In fact, my guest, you are number 422. So I've seen a lot of websites.
That's a lot.
And there's music, and look at this. Isn't that a beautiful? Oh, that's the cover of your book.
That's the cover of the of the yeah, my daughter did that when I released the book. She said, "Hey, why not put it in it?" And I never had her to take it down.
Beautiful. Did she actually do the painting?
No, that's an artist here. The Savannah College of Art and Design is here in Savannah. It's the largest art school in the world,
Oh,
and
wow.
they have a lot of very good artists coming out of that school. And one of the students did that from a portrait of me.
I see. So you have, and these are your four recordings of yours?
Let me see, one, two, three, four. There are probably a couple more. I don't know why they're not on there,
Yeah.
but yeah, I have the one with Ben Riley and Doug Karn on it. I don't know why that's not listed on there,
Uh-huh.
but it's about two or three more.
Yeah. And here's some fans of yours, which is really cool. Press release. Da, da, da. Anyway, very nice.
There is a documentary on me called The Quintessential Teddy Adams that one of the TV stations did here on me. That's on YouTube, and that's not bragging. That's pretty good. They interviewed me, and they brought in a lot of people and asked their opinion of me. It's called The Quintessential Teddy Adams.
Wow. Okay. Did you say, oh, it's on YouTube? Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. Well, we'll go We'll go look for that. And it's always nice to have something like that, isn't it? Always nice. Yeah. There we go.
I think, okay, that you found it.
Right. Yeah.
The one that I think that she was the mayor at the time, the one with the young lady, Elder Jackson.
Yes.
No, let me, yeah, I think if you do that, that would bring it up.
Yeah. We could watch a little bit of this.
My exposure at home, right here, had well prepared me for the world at large.
Teddy can play anything. He can play rock and roll, he can play blues, rhythm blues, rock and roll, jazz.
Teddy, from the standpoint of mentoring young musicians, of keeping the music in front of the public and advocating the music, did more for the music than anybody else in my lifetime that I know in Savannah.
Teddy is the quintessential jazz man.
Teddy is Savannah. Teddy is Savannah.
Yeah.
He is one that lives it. He doesn't just play it. He is jazz.
Well, my first inspiration actually was my father. He played the harmonica and the nickname the Jew's harp. You play it, you actually, and it's very dangerous. It cuts the tongue and it cracks the teeth if you don't know what you're doing. You know, but he was my first inspiration. And then my older brother, Lonnie, played the saxophone. And that really kind of got me interested. And he was inclined to playing jazz. He'd already started making gigs. So subconsciously, before I really considered playing, then I was considering it without knowing it, like that. So my father and my brother were my inspiration.
There's a great depth and richness in a jazz musician, and they need to understand how important guys like Teddy are to this community over time, and get to know them and appreciate them.
The way that he plays that trombone, you know, I mean, he can just set your soul on fire with it. And not only on fire, but just kind of soothe you. And I mean, whatever mood you're in, he can get you out of that mood into the music.
After having traveled all over the world, he chose to return home. Definitely, we're better off because of that.
Teddy's a living legend here in Savannah.
He's so modest, and when you say scholar, he's a doctor, he's a PhD, and people don't know that, right? So the certificate is literally in a little corner in the attic. It's the craziest thing, right? He doesn't ask to be referred to as Dr. Adams. I don't even think people in our family know that he's PhD, right? He's just dad. He's just Teddy Adams, you know.
Through fundraising, through organizing, all those things that it takes to have an institution that's jazz. Without Teddy, you know, that stuff wouldn't take place, and it's the way that he interacts with other people that give it the rich dynamic that we have in this city.
He's a lecturer. He is an arranger, a composer. He and Randall Reese put together the Savannah Jazz Orchestra. He put together, with some help, the Savannah Jazz Hall of Fame. So he's just a pioneer, an organizer, a builder.
The legacy. Teddy Adams School of Music.
Tenacity, his sheer commitment to the music beyond all, I think that no one that I know has that kind of steadiness that Teddy possesses.
There's no one in Savannah, living or past, who has put in more of his own time and passion and energy and efforts for the cause of jazz and for the cause of keeping jazz going than Teddy.
It really would be jazz as a verb, because that's what he is. He's the verb.
And Teddy is the kind of person, like I told you, he's quintessential. When he pulls out his trombone, he ain't come to play. He came to blow.
That's really nice, boy. That'll make you feel good.
Yeah. We had 3 of Savannah's former mayors at that time. One of them was the present mayor, and you know, it made me feel good because it always feels good to be appreciated. And I didn't do it, and I'm not doing it for the recognition. That has nothing to do with it. It's my passion, and I want to perpetuate the existence here. And I came up as a kid. I never thought about being the go-to of the old man in the community. But right now, I'm 81 years old, and I'm one of the oldest living musicians in Savannah. And I couldn't fathom that when I was young.
Yeah. Well, so anybody who's in the area can come see you at the very least every Sunday night, correct?
Yeah, every Sunday night, and about now this month I played 3 weekends. Fred Wesley and we do a thing occasionally called the Bone Brothers. So we were there last weekend, and then I was there the weekend before that with a very fine vocalist out of Pittsburgh, Dred Scott, and my sextet is playing this weekend. Normally I never play that much. I play every Sunday night and maybe once a month. The rest of the time I parcel out to other people. Are you familiar with a vocalist from the Bay Area by the name of Nicholas Beard?
I was just going to bring up Nicholas because I saw you in a picture with him. Yeah, we're friends. He's a great singer.
We were in Tokyo together. That's where I met him.
Oh, okay.
And he, you know, both of us, we were doing a dance group thing. Had the most popular group over there, doing all the Tokyo clubs. But I had no idea that he sang jazz, because he was pretty good. He was pretty good at what we were doing, you know.
Yeah, he's a really good singer.
Yeah.
Actually, he was here recently, about a month ago or so, and yeah, and he's done workshops for me because I create workshops here too with visiting artists and stuff. But yeah, it's funny where we met. He and his wife and me and my husband went to this like weekend, I guess you could call it convention, but it was, you know, not a huge convention. But this guy, Tim, I forget his name. Anyway, he was a music business guy, extremely bright. You know, he was the kind of guy like who would give you these ideas to accomplish and do. And if you were that kind of person who could go into action, you know, they were great ideas, you know, who to contact and what to do. So that's where Nicholas and I met first. And yeah, so we were all kind of interested in, you know, something alive to do, you know, that you could forward music and your career and, you know, get it out there. But he's such a good singer too. And he's a good teacher too.
Really? See, I don't know him in the educational capacity. I knew he could sing, but I was pleasantly surprised. See, his Air Force, his given name is Roger.
Oh,
Roger Beard. So I ran into someone said, you know, Roger Beard is doing very well, man. I didn't know what he was talking about. He said, but he calls himself Nick Beard now. I said, oh, okay. But 2 or 3 of the guys that were in Japan with me, singers, came back, and they're doing very, very well. Yeah, another singer I liked a lot. I worked with him 2 or 3 times. Once with my big band, and twice in small groups. Ernie Andrews, God bless the dead. Were you familiar with Ernie Andrews?
Absolutely, yeah.
He was one of my favorite singers, and plus he was a character.
Definitely a character. So he and, Barbara, did you know Barbara Morrison at all or know of her?
No.
So she was super well known, really across the planet, jazz and blues, and she was an actress, and she was a real community builder and inspirational person. There's an area in LA called Lemert Park, which Billy Higgins created a place called the World Stage years ago, which still is in existence.
Yeah, I know about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Barbara created several venues in this area as well, and she was an amazing person. Anyway, she passed a few weeks ago, and so there's all these comments that she and Ernie are up there having a good time because they worked together down here on the planet, But Ernie Andrews, yeah, he was amazing, an amazing singer. Yeah. Personality. Yeah, really great guy. It's great to.
In both of my books, matter of fact, I'm including him in the sequel to The Up of the Downbeat. The last time he was in Savannah, he performed with my big band. And he came in on Friday. We rehearsed. Saturday was the big day. And he had a plane ticket that we bought to leave Sunday morning. I was on a gig Wednesday night, and who staggers through the door with 2 women but Ernie? I don't know when he left Savannah.
I can believe that.
I don't know when he left. And the next time I saw him, he came in with the Harper brothers,
Wow.
And he said, I said, when did you ever leave? He said, I don't remember.
Funny. That's very funny. Quite the personality.
He is.
Well, Teddy, it's been 2 hours. I want to thank you so much for giving me 2 hours of your time.
It's been a pleasure. If it's helping to advocate, to perpetuate, to get the word out about this art form, commonly referred to as jazz, my time is your time, or anybody else's time who would like to share and help keep this out in the forefront.
Well, thank you. You're in my big book.
Great.
Thank you so much, man. And maybe I'll come see you. I really wanted to come to Savannah and see Savannah and also visit Cynthia, and now you too. I want to come through sometime. I don't know when.
Where are you originally from? You said.
I'm originally from Boston.
From Boston. Okay. Yeah. How long have you been in California?
45 years or something. I think.
That's pretty good investment. But let me tell you, this could be dangerous coming to Savannah. I'm telling you, people come here and fall in love with. Like a lot of prominent people own homes here. They only come down like during the winter, maybe.
Yeah.
But Savannah, it grows on you. When Sherman marched through, he refused to burn Savannah. He burned Atlanta to the ground.
Wow.
He said, it's too beautiful. I can't destroy this. So they didn't touch anything.
Wow, interesting.
They went on to Atlanta and tore it down.
Wow. Huh. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's an interesting note to end on. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow I have a really good guitarist, Beth Marlis, who's came to me through Joe Diorio and Ted Green, and she's a really great player. She lives in LA and she's done a lot in her career. And then I have Thursday through Sunday, I'll post archives, and if you're interested in who is on those archives, you can go to my website and check it out and see who's coming. A lot of great, amazing people. Ernie Watts is going to be on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, let me give you a name.
Okay.
Daniel Ray.
I'm writing
You
it
know,
down.
that means nothing to you. He's known as Big Black.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Let me tell you, he lives in Cathedral City.
Okay.
But he has an interesting career, and he's played with everybody. And he's from Savannah. You
Oh,
know, like he and James Moody and Trummy Young, Ben Riley, Irene Reed, Jabbo Smith, Lee Blair, all those people are Savannahans. Sahib Shahab,
oh.
and Big Black is from Savannah.
Well, maybe can you get me in touch with him and
Sure, I tell you what I'll do. I sure will. I'll send you his contact information, his telephone number at least.
thank you. I feel like I had met him because he'd been in LA, right?
He was in LA for a number of years.
Yeah. I
A
feel
number
like
of
when I
years.
was younger, I knew him, but yeah, but I didn't, and maybe I did. Who knows? Because it's, 45 years is a long time for your memory to remember everybody.
I tell you, but he is the kind of guy that's unforgettable. Now, the opening statement in my book is a Gullah Geechee saying that he gave me, and Gullah Geechee, that's a culture that's between Charleston, South Carolina, and around Brunswick, Georgia, with Charleston, Savannah being the heart of the culture. And he says, you can apply this to music or to life. And I really, when he stated it to me, I've never forgotten it, and I never will. He says, if you want to be there before you get there, you got to be gone before you leave.
That's cool.
That's a
That
pearl.
is cool. Yeah.
That's a pearl. And I thought about improv. I said, man, that's improvisation. He said, that's life.
That is good. I like
If you want to be there before you get there, you got to be gone before you leave. An old Gullah Geechee saying.
Wow, that's cool, man. Well, thank you. And it's I'm sure people will be buying your book and your CD.
I hope so.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for reaching out to me.
Thank you. Okay, well, have a great day.
Same to you.